welcome Cancer to your monthly horoscope for October for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Before I begin, I'd like to briefly tell you about your year 2021 personal celestial blueprint. Yes, your year ahead forecast is available now, and I'll give you the rest of 2023 as well as all of year 2021, plus a character analysis and 30% off. This is based on your unique birth data of time, date and place of birth. So no two charts are the same. It does go way beyond your zodiac sign forecast. Please see the link beneath this video. Now, as this month begins, we have a full moon. As this month comes to a close, we have a full moon. So we have a blue moon month. The first full moon occurs in the 10th house, which is very much to do with your work, your goals, ambitions, your responsibilities, and also how other people perceive you in terms of your worldly interactions. And of course, the sun on the other side of the heavens is in the sign of Libra, which for you is very much about finding balance, but finding balance around your emotional situation, your environment, your sense of security. But what makes this particular full moon so supercharged is the clustering of energy in the sign of Capricorn. So even on the back of the new moon, which occurs on the 16th in the sign of Libra, we still have a square energy coming from that posse of players in the sign of Capricorn. So what does this mean? Well, as you come into this month, Mercury, the planet of communication, is already in shadow. That began on the 27th of September in the most self-expressive and joyful part of your situation. So if there is an expectation around a more playful dimension or around a romantic tie, I do feel the stakes can feel quite high. And I feel this full moon can sort of push you to open up a little bit and be a little bit more visible in terms of what you're thinking and feeling and sharing with another person. But of course, you can be quite guarded or private. Yes, your sign is ruled by the moon. You can be enormously caring. But sometimes when things are a little tense, you can withdraw somewhat, sometimes retreat, or sometimes just keep your cards very close to your chest. And when Saturn's in the equation, I think, which is a more limiting energy, perhaps there will be a temptation to do this. But Mars, on the other hand, which is in your 10th house along with that full moon, is encouraging you to be much more demonstrative and assertive about how you feel about a situation. So a relationship matter may require a degree of care. Or is it about your job? Is it about where you live or work? Your interactions with others are going to inform the success of this month, even if it's outside a personal relationship context or the way you interact with family members or loved ones in general. Now, what's going to help you enormously, despite Mercury being in shadow, which is asking you to think carefully about what you want in terms of your self-expression, Venus, the planet of love and affection, moves into a glorious location on the 3rd, where she will be through till the 27th. This suggests that the way you express yourself, your mode or even tone of expression, can take on an even heightened quality, which can draw people to you. Someone could hang on your every word this month, or if you're someone who really enjoys writing or poetry or even singing, that too can be a way that you could spellbind and captivate someone to enjoy the potential magic. But it is true, from the 8th through to the 21st, the sun is intensifying its right angle to that posse of planets in Capricorn. So I think that home or emotional based issue is going to require some attention. Is it possible that someone you live with or someone very close to you is seeing something in a very different way? I think that could come up, and that may mean that there's a real sort of contrast between your position and theirs. It doesn't mean to say that either of your positions are wrong. I think you would acknowledge that. It's just a different position. But for some reason, a little bit of grit or tension can creep into the situation. So just be conscious of that. More positively, Jupiter forges a gorgeous angle in your sector of relating with Neptune, the planet of dreams, but also mysticism and spirituality in a very idealistic area. So if you can see the best in people, it's going to be a very good thing to do. Now, on the 14th, Mercury does then go into retrograde in your sister water sign of Scorpio. Now, we have 3 primary retrogrades of Mercury this year that certainly in the main are in water signs. But this one is actually going to invert on the 28th into the sign of Libra, which is air, and therefore brings a bit of logic to bear. If there is a creative hope that you are sort of thinking or working with as this month develops, it could be a bit to and fro. So just try to take that in your stride. Of course, as ever with Mercury retrograde, there could be some niggles and snags and snares, which could be frustrating. The 16th also sees a new moon. The new moon for you gives you the opportunity to relaunch your intentions when it comes to your emotional needs and any sense of family or matters of security. But again, the conflict that's being created between the Sun and that cluster of energy in the sign of Capricorn once more comes up. So for the following month, this can be quite a tender phase. If there are any chinks in the close relationship, I have to say, I do feel that they could come up in October. And one of the worst things you can really do is use the power of Mars in a negative way, because obviously it's retrograde through to the 11th of November, to try to kind of crush the rebellion. Because there is a part of you, despite your diffidence to or reluctance to sometimes get into conflict, there is part of you that can create a sense of wanting to control things, but not necessarily articulating your message. And that can be just as powerful as someone who's actually saying it out loud. So just be conscious of energy, energetic exchange, atmospheres. Some of these things can be very eroding to the quality of relationships, even if there is no actual dialogue that's spoken that's more robust. And sometimes it's better to actually say how we feel, clear the air. You actually have a glorious opportunity from the 18th to the 24th as Venus forges a wonderful angle to that cluster of energy to forge a better alliance, to say how you feel in a constructive way. Someone could also take on a much greater meaning in your world, and that could be something that you really are set to celebrate. But then on the 23rd, the Sun moves into Scorpio, where it's wonderfully placed for you. This can give you a big uplift in physical vitality and drive. But on the 28th, Mercury inverts into Libra, and on the same day, Venus moves into this area too. If it's possible, due to the COVID restrictions, you may want to entertain or spoil someone in your home environment as the month comes to a close. But Mercury does square with Saturn. And even if you are chatting something over of a more delicate nature, it could make you a bit tense or a bit concerned that someone may see something differently to you, or perhaps someone's not understanding where you're coming from. Mercury retrogrades obviously have a downside as well as those opportunities. So we're all going to need to be very conscious of what we're saying, but also checking the other person has the same view, or at least the same understanding of what we've said. Comprehension is the key with relating, isn't it, really? It isn't actually conversation, it's comprehension. So we can say something, but whether someone actually realises where we're coming from, that can be the tricky part of life. But as the month comes to a close, we have that glorious blue moon in the sign of Taurus, which for you is about friendship. It's about your connections to the future. It's about your interactions on a more group associate basis. It can be about your idealism, and it is in conjunction with Uranus, the buzzy, electrifying energy, which is the ruler of Aquarius, which is very much with these to do with these higher principles. So it could be that around a relationship or a friendship or around your future plans, things could go in a slightly different direction as you make your way into the start of November. But it could come about, the change of plan could be quite sudden, quite exciting, but at the same time rather unsettling. But if it does bring some kind of uplift or greater anticipation of what life can bring to you into the equation, in other words, it rises above the workaday, the practical areas, which you're often so good at managing. If it brings some kind of passion into the equation, I would embrace it. So sometimes staying with what we know is very comforting, but it becomes ever more limiting because it's stopping us actually growing. So some kind of exciting energy or surprise or challenge may come up at the end of this month, but I do think it's something that could make your pulse race a lot quicker, whether it's romantically or whether it's a future plan, because I feel you're just going to feel so much more alive. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Please stay safe, take care, and goodbye for now.